Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Netflix Siege War for Cybertron Trilogy Deluxe Class Elita-1. And here we have Elita-1 fully transformed up into her Cybertronian sports car mode, in my opinion looking absolutely fantastic. Now out of this second wave of Netflix releases, Elita-1 here was the one that I was second most looking forward to, with of course Bumblebee being my most anticipated one out of this line, seeing as other than Bumblebee she's the only character to actually have retooled elements implemented into her than as opposed to Impactor, Red Alert and Wheeljack, which are just direct repaint. So bringing her in for a closer look, to my surprise they did actually remold quite a significant amount of this figure, especially when we get into robot mode. So taking a look here at vehicle mode, this entire front section is a complete brand new sculpt. The only reuse here is this piece, which is a separate section that is a carryover from RC. However, in my opinion, I think that it really works nicely with this new retooled section. You can see that this time around we've got a lot more panel definition here. The Autobot insignia is painted here in white. This section here is also brand new, and even the front headlights too are a completely new sculpt. As we turn to the rear end of the vehicle, this is where things are almost identical to that of RC. However, of course, the major difference being the colour scheme. In my opinion, I absolutely love the colour scheme here for Elita-1, and it actually looks better than that of RC in my opinion. You can see that this time they've used a more transparent blue plastic than as opposed to the smoky plastic that we got with RC, and I think that this looks so much nicer. We've still got the interior detailing there, so we've got the dashboard as well as the steering wheel detailing, as well as the seats have also been painted really nicely. We do have a more transparent plastic piece here used for the fin, which once again I think looks a lot nicer, and in some lighting almost looks as if though it's got a blue tint to it, which I think looks super cool. As we turn to the rear end of the vehicle, once again very similar to that of RC, and as we just turn her to the underside, she unfortunately does transform in exactly the same way as RC, so she is a shell former for the most part. But in vehicle mode I do think that she conceals her robot mode parts quite nicely, especially when looking at her from the top and even from the sides. She does also roll really nicely, which is great to see. Of course, this being a very sleek looking Cybertronian vehicle, you'd expect her to be very fast in terms of the speed she can acquire, so it's great to see how well she rolls. The wheels also are made out of that same transparent blue plastic than as opposed to the smoky plastic that we got with RC. And in terms of accessories, she also does come with the same accessory as RC, so that being this pistol. But once again, in my opinion, it looks a lot nicer this time round, done in that same transparent blue plastic that we got here with the vehicle mode. And in my opinion, it really does look as if though it's almost holographic, so very futuristic in its design, and I absolutely love that. There is a few ways you can store it within vehicle mode. You can tab it here at the top and have this act as if though it's almost a stealth mode for Elita-1 to deploy whilst in battle and in vehicle mode, or we can take this section here, and as we did with RC, you can just port it in here to the front. However, I really don't like the look that that gives off when we look at it from a front head-on perspective. Bringing in some comparisons, just setting her blaster off to the side. Here we have Elita-1 compared next to some of the other War for Cybertron fembots, that being Chromia, and of course here with RC. And really and truly, I think RC should have perhaps been packaged in with either the Netflix show or even in Siege, as all three of these do appear in the Siege anime series, and I really do like the look of these. Of course, these two here are very similar in terms of their appearances, but just bringing them in for a closer look, you can see in what I was saying earlier on in regards to this front section, it has been completely retooled here for Elita-1, and the RC version is still unique to her own individual mould. And then just bringing her in for a comparison with Chromia, you can see that whilst Chromia is slightly longer in terms of a design, Elita-1 is definitely a lot more thick in terms of her width. And in my opinion, I think that the plastic distribution and just the overall design of these is really awesome. Chromia here is definitely a lot more of a precise looking vehicle mode, looks as if though she could perhaps pierce through the air in terms of how fast she can travel. Whereas although Elita-1 does look as if though she's a fast vehicle, I don't perhaps think she's as fast as Chromia. But just for a quick Fembot comparison, you can see here that it's great to finally have the main trio from the Transformers War for Cybertron Fembot lineup. Now turning to the transformation of Elita-1, as she basically shares a very similar mold to that of RC, the transformation is identical. So to begin with, you're going to want to turn to the underside here and just untab her legs. So just pull these away and they will untab from these very secure joints. So just untab all of those, rotate her thighs around so that they're in the proper configuration for robot mode. You'll see that they do align up really nicely. And then here, what I recommend doing is just arching all of this back, just getting all of this out of the way, and then you're going to want to pull the body away from the shell of the vehicle mode. So just lift that up, rotate her head sculpt around, and then pop the arms through. We can remove this back section, however, for the purposes of transformation and just to show you that she can transform in one piece, I am going to leave that connected here until we get her into robot mode. Fold these small panels down here on either side, and then just collapse those. With this section, you're just gently going to want to pry it. You can see that it is on this pin joint, so I recommend just taking this and just slowly hinging this up and then rotating this all the way around. What we can do here is collapse this piece and then just fold these sections in, hinge this all back, and you can see that we've got 2 slots here and here that these 2 tabs here will fill in. So just align those up, snapping those both nice and securely into place. And there we have Elita-1 fully transformed up into her rather awesome looking robot mode. And so now taking a look here at Elita-1 in her robot mode, I think it's here that she truly shines. She looks absolutely incredible. For someone who didn't really warm to the character of Elita-1, I've got to say that her figure is truly phenomenal in terms of the amount of detail that she has sculpted into her. Now, of course, she does have a giant backpack, which was perhaps the reason why she was so miserable in the Transformers Siege series. However, of course, as you saw with RC, you can remove this. I just wanted to show that similarly to RC, she can transform in one piece, and that the parts forming aspect to this mold is completely optional. So in order to remove this, you just want to untab this back section here. We do have this switch that you're just going to want to apply some pressure to, and then just disengage all of this. It can be very stiff, but you can see that it does just completely come off, and then you'll just fold this under here, and you can use her backpack similarly to RC as an almost hoverboard. However, I'll demonstrate that later on in the review. And with the backpack detached, I think that this is a really accurate looking figure, especially for being a retool. So bringing her in for a closer look, you can see here that in terms of details for her head sculpt, I think that Hasbro and Takara Tomy have done a phenomenal job in capturing her appearance from the Transformers anime series. I really do think that it looks as if though she's just jumped straight out of the screen. You can see as well the different paint applications. So we have this almost pinkish hue to the orange paint up here for the main crest, and then we've got this cream-like colour for her faceplate. The lips, unlike RC, are this time painted, which in my opinion just gives this figure so much more life than RC, and they've also painted her eyes in this really awesome darker blue colour. So I definitely love the face sculpt in this. All of the details look fantastic, the antennae, as well as these rigid sections to the sides of the helmet. The entire torso section, as well as this lower piece here, is a brand new sculpt. So everything you see for the torso is completely brand new, which upon official images from Hasbro and Takara, I didn't think they were going to go the extra mile and actually do. So once again, that just shows that they're putting that extra time and care in order to make these figures as accurate as can be. And in my opinion, I really do love the sculpt here for the torso. You can see the definition here for the upper section of the torso. We've got the mixture of paint applications. So once again, that more orange pinkish hue paint up here for the top, the cream here as well as the white. I think that all contrasts so nicely. And as we turn to the shoulders, these two are also a completely brand new sculpt. So Elita-1 in the show does have these points for the shoulders, and they have recreated them here and have molded them really nice and precisely. From the bicep downwards though, this is just a carryover from RC. However, as stated before, they do share very similar character models, so in my opinion, these are areas that they didn't necessarily have to retool, and you can see how they've got the colour match down to a T. In my opinion, I do like how this red colour scheme matches here with some of the red paint that we have, as well as the cream colour that we have here for the plastic also matches the cream paint that we have. As we turn down to the legs, these are also just a direct reuse of RC. However, in my opinion, with the new paint applications, they really do look very coherent and natural with the rest of the body. And as we turn to the back, we can once again see that we do have this retooled element. However, in my opinion, I do wish that they would have gone even further and had perhaps added a split here so that we could actually split these, and so that they were posable on their own individual ball joints, much like Elita-1 did have in the show. If you'll notice, she had these two almost wing-like pieces that were on ball joints, so it would have been nice to have seen this split right down the middle, and so that we could have just gently hinged these pieces out to the side. But nonetheless, for the most part, I think that it looks like it did in the show. Turning to her blaster now, you can see that she looks very awesome when wielding it. However, this is inaccurate. In the show, she did have this almost sniper-like weapon, so it would have been cool if they could have even just repacked a weapon that we got with Red Alert or Cog. But nonetheless, I think this all looks really nice. In terms of articulation, she does have a ball joint at the head, so it can look left to right as well as up and down. We do get a hinge joint here for the arm. However, be cautious that these points don't bump into this section, as I have found this piece to slightly restrict the range of motion, causing this mushroom peg here to very easily pop out. So just be cautious on how this section sits here at the back. But you can see great range of motion there. She can also hinge out to the sides, full 360 rotation at the bicep, slightly over 90-degree bend there for the elbow, and due to transformation, her wrists can hinge forwards and backwards. It It would have been nice if we could have got a wrist swivel or perhaps a hinge joint up and down, but we do get a full 360 rotation here at the waist. The legs can kick forwards that far as well as back that far, hinge out to the sides. We also do get a swivel joint here at the upper thigh as well as here at the lower thigh due to transformation. She does also have a double joint here for the knee, allowing for a fantastic range of motion. And then finally turning to the feet can pivot forwards and backwards as well as hinge in and out. So she does indeed have an ankle rocker joint. So in all, a really awesome figure, and is a lot more interesting than what we're used to getting with some of these other Netflix Siege repaints / retools. And once again, for your War for Cybertron trilogy Fembot comparison, here we have Elita-1 compared next to the Earthrise RC as well as the Netflix repainted version of Siege Chromia. And I really do think that these are an awesome set of repaints. Of course, Hasbro and Takara Tomy are probably going to repaint Chromia here into a Moon Racer, which I'll definitely pick up, as quite surprisingly with the redecker that we got here with the Siege Chromia, as well as how she appeared in the Netflix show, I'm definitely appreciating this mold a lot more than I initially did. But back to the Elita-1 review, you can see in terms of a comparison with RC, just bringing them in for a closer look, the head sculpts are completely different, the shoulders are completely different, the chest is completely different, as well as this lower section, whereas the thighs and the lower arms are exactly the same. But once again, with the new colour scheme, I think that it really helps to set these characters apart. And if I didn't mention it, the thigh sections here on Elita-1 are indeed painted white, than as opposed to moulded in white plastic like we got with RC. So definitely very awesome looking figures, and I cannot wait to do some photography and pose these three together. And for one final comparison, here we have Elita-1 compared next to the Siege Optimus Prime. And to be honest with you, I think that the scale here works quite nicely, especially considering that this figure here is just a retool of RC, which perhaps wasn't supposed to scale with Optimus Prime. I think that these two here definitely scale rather nicely with one another, and this is more or less the scale that we saw within the show. So pairing these two up, I definitely think will create for a really awesome look on the shelf, especially if you are looking to build your Transformers Siege War for Cybertron Netflix collection. And so that was my review for the Transformers Netflix Siege War for Cybertron Trilogy Deluxe Class Elita-1. If you couldn't guess already from this review, I think that Hasbro and Takara Tomy have done an amazing job in taking the Earthrise RC mold, repainting her, and of course retooling her into this Elita-1 figure. I really do think that this is a really awesome release. Of course, I wasn't a massive fan of the Elita-1 character in the Siege Netflix show, but I think that the figure here looks absolutely fantastic and really does capture her appearance from the show. Here I have also got her backpack section acting like a hoverboard, similarly to what you could do with Earthrise RC, so we definitely have options here. I think that the brand new retooled elements were definitely a surprise and a welcome one in my opinion. I did not expect them to alter the chest piece, nor to give her new shoulders, and I definitely wasn't expecting them to retool this front section. This is something that they didn't have to do, seeing as we never actually saw Elita-1 transform within the show, so really great attention to detail there with Hasbro and Takara Tomy. The head sculpt looks fantastic. I think that the mold actually suits Elita-1 better, especially here in this new colour scheme. If I had any minor criticisms, it would be the fact that she doesn't come with her accurate blaster. However, seeing as they already had the base Earthrise RC mold, I'm not entirely sure how they would have added the extra blaster and incorporated it into the vehicle mode for weapon storage. But in all, definitely a really awesome figure. She looks great when paired next to Siege Optimus Prime, as well as some of the other Siege War for Cybertron Trilogy Fembots. And in my opinion, is one of the highlights out of this second wave of Siege Netflix repaints and retools. So definitely, if you can track her down, add her to your collection. I really do hope that you enjoyed my review of Netflix Elita-1. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below. And until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.